DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
There, and now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Wedding Chat on Wednesday night with Glenn Mackay and Dave Ternier. You can
wait. Where's Jeremy?
You've got the poor man's Jeremy today. Aussie Jeremy is here filling in.
Aussie Jeremy, Glenn, how are you?
I am well, thank you, Dave. And how you going?
I'm doing well, thanks. Welcome everyone to Wedding Chat with me, Dave Ternier. I'm where I normally am, but Jeremy, we're not sure where Jeremy is tonight. He made some excuse about having to be on a plane.
Snowed in. Is it snow season there yet? I don't even know. But it's hot here, so it must be snow. So.
You know, we've had snow a couple times now, but it's gone both times. So when I went for my ride this morning, I was actually back on the mountain bike. I was off the fat bike because there's no point right now. So yeah, the snow is gone, but things are hot as hell down your way, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we're closing in on like 40 degrees, even Celsius, today and tomorrow. So that's getting right up there. So the air conditioning is keeping me cool today.
40 degrees Celsius is 105 for you Americans who you know Fahrenheit better. So Glenn, I'm sure everybody knows where you're from, but remind those who might not have seen you before, in case your accent hasn't given it away.
Sure. So I'm from Australia, and I'm normally the one talking smack to Dave and Jeremy during their show.
You are.
And usually nodding my head along in agreement with so much of what you guys discuss. So yeah, it's great to be hanging out.
Yeah, you are one half, or I should say, you're a part of GNM Event Group. There's a lot of you that run that company now.
Yeah, so my wife Miranda and I own it, and then we have 5 of us full time now, and a bunch of other casuals, part-timers helping keep things ticking along. And we're right now just getting to the end of our peak season. Sort of this weekend is actually sort of quite a transition weekend of weddings starting to transition into school formals, which is like graduation, prom, I think Americans would call them, and then into corporate Christmas parties through till Christmas time. And then we have couple of quiet months because it's too hot for weddings here, where I am at. Down south, I know Melbourne, for example, Victoria is still peaking on weddings through summer. So, yeah.
Got it. So this will be so our topic today then is going to be really, really great because you and I are going to have probably very different things to share because, of course, most people know my company is well, you're looking at every employee I've got.
Employee of the month, 4 years running, I believe.
That's right.
Still doing well.
Yeah, still going well. So when it comes to a week of wedding prep for me, that's all on me. But in your case, I'm sure it's probably going to sound a little different. So a couple of about a month or so ago, Jeremy and I had a whole bunch of topics kind of given to us and such by those who are watching us, and people wanted different commentary on a variety of things. So one of the things that came up was, what does the week of prep look like for you when it comes to a wedding? What's on your checklist, and how do you go about doing those things? I'm gonna throw this right out there and say, listen, everybody, Glenn and Miranda and their team, they're probably way organized than I am. So they've probably done all their final prep weeks ahead of time. Not the case with this guy.
Well, it's interesting. We have, I kind of, when I found out about this topic a short time ago, I kind of put some thoughts down, and I kind of had to split it into two. It's like what I prep myself for my personal events, and then how our company preps for, 20 events through a week. So my personal event prep it sounds like it's very similar to yours, Dave, where it's a little bit of last minute flying by the seat of my pants type things, whereas we have an amazing guy in our team, Brian, who keeps the rest of the team on track, and he keeps me on track as well, from an operational point of view, making sure everything is sorted, like ridiculous detail. He gives our team to set them up for success.
I know that guy. He is very detailed. Very, very detailed. Cool. So, well, why don't we get into how you and I spend the week prepping for a wedding, the 7 days or so leading up to, and then let's talk about your team as well. So, I mean, I'll start off with me. So, I mean, with myself, generally about 10 or so days before a wedding, so DJ Event Planner automatically sends me a note saying, hey, Dave, if you have any final unresolved questions for, Justin and Jody's wedding, send them a note with what those things are. So that's about 10 days out for me. And that way I know when it comes to the Monday of the wedding, I don't have to bug them for anything else major. Yes, of course, there's always the exception. The occasional thing comes up, whether it's on my end or their end. But as a general rule, that's kind of my closeout date for any of those final things. And then come Monday morning, I shoot off a very abbreviated version of a timeline of their event to the other vendors I'll be working with. So the photographer, the caterer, banquet manager, whatever the case might be. And that email goes out Monday to them and says, hey, looking forward to so-and-so's wedding. Attached is the approximate order, or is the order of things and approximate timing. If anything here doesn't work with what, you kind of have in mind for doing your work, let me know and we'll figure things out. You, I imagine, do a similar thing with the vendors that you work with?
Yeah. So I would like to say I do that for every wedding, but there are times when I just don't have the information from those other suppliers to send to. Mm-hmm. For me, my final client meeting, my final meeting with the couple is usually about 2 to 3 weeks out. It used to be a month out, but I prefer now a bit closer. And that's because oftentimes if I haven't got the details I needed 2 to 3 weeks out, we're going to get them. We're going to sit there in that meeting until we get them. And we've met with them previously. So it's really about what I say to them is about bringing it all together. This is the meeting where it all comes together and we finalize it.
Right.
And yeah, so by then we've got our timeline locked down. We've got, subject to stuff going wrong on the day, but generally we've got that framework down. I've got a brief to give my DJ because unlike you, I work with an assistant. So my DJ will DJ while I MC. So all my scripting is usually done a week out so that I'm not writing it week of. And that being said, this is not in an ideal world that happens. Sometimes I'm getting stuff sent to me week of, but I find the more prepared I am in advance, when I get the week of stuff, it's less stressful because I'm kind of, it's like, oh, okay, cool. We're just going to switch that bridesmaid out and we're going to put this new one in. And I've just got to write that little bit of script rather than everything week of when there's a million things in the business that are, pulling me in a different direction, or just having other people around in the office. So for me, Mondays, there's no one else in my office other than me, which means I can get stuff done, like scripting, like timelines, like, deeper focus work. And then Thursdays, which is Thursday here now from the future, it's Thursday here, so there's no one in the office today. So again, I can do things of a bit deeper nature. And I consider script writing, for example, a deeper thing. And any of that event prep, just because there's there's often a lot of bits of paper on my desk from the venue, from the client, from a photographer, whoever, just bringing that all together nicely. I prefer to do that with no one else around.
Got it. And you typically do scripting prior to the week of, is that right?
When possible. So for example, the next wedding that I personally have isn't until, I'm looking over to the side, that's where my event folders are over here, and is Robert and Sonia, and they're not till the 24th, and they're all done. They're literally finalized, script done, everything. The one after that's the 30th, which it's all done as well. Which I'm kind of in a really happy place with that at the moment, because I'm never normally that organized.
I was just going to say, John, get rid of this guy. I don't like him. He's making me look bad.
But but that being said, there's been weeks where it's Saturday of a Saturday wedding, and in the morning I'm madly typing something because that's what that week encountered. So definitely don't assume that I'm always this organized weeks out. But I like to have all the hard stuff done before the week of. So true. Depending on like how many weddings a person's doing, right? Like I very rarely do more than one a week. So if there's a single op out there doing 3 weddings, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, damn, you got to be organized for that, I'm sure.
Ridiculous. I've done 2 weddings a weekend a couple times, and every time I do it, I ask myself, Dave, what the hell are you doing to yourself? Because there's no way wedding number 2 gets the same Dave that wedding number 1 got. It's just impossible. I don't care who you are. So I typically do scripting the week of, and for no other reason than I'm trying to juggle too many things quite often. So it's a week of thing. So, I've gotten started on the grand entrance and the love story for my couple this weekend. Neither are finished yet, but that'll all come together tomorrow morning and afternoon. Tomorrow will be Thursday for me. So, as long as it's done by the end of Thursday, then Friday I've got to, put together final playlists. With my wedding this weekend, it's a little bit different because there's no dinner at this wedding. So it's literally like a 6 p.m. cocktails, 7 p.m. ceremony. And then they're going to go do some family photos. We're going to introduce them back in at 8 o'clock. And some toasts and speeches after, and then straight to dance.
Wow.
Yeah. So super cash, laid back, really fun couple. It's everybody's local to where he's not entirely for her, I guess. She's not entirely local, but it's so in that regard there's a little less kind of on me, right? Because there's no unique activities when it comes to maybe a buffet invitation or anything like that I've got to figure out. Although we are doing a variation of the newlywed / dating game, which I got a few more details to work on my end, but regardless. Script writing is definitely a week of thing for me typically. Obviously any activities that I'm responsible for getting the final pieces together for, I like helping my couples brainstorm, whether it's a unique kissing activity or a unique buffet invite activity. And yes, I take on most of the prep for those things, unless it's like high dollar value stuff or like hours and hours. But if it's of that nature, then I'm going to ask them to do some of it. But most of the time, it's something that I do. What else is my week of? Putting together playlists for cocktails, dinner.
Well, I think the other thing that I'm usually looking at is I'm checking the weather. I'm usually sort of Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm kind of looking ahead, going, is it going to be rainy? Is it going to be hot? Like we don't have snow, so that's never an issue. But is there high wind? Is something coming that I need to just be across? And it's generally like rain or not rain. That's usually what I'm looking for. And if there is going to be rain, is it like real rain, or is it a storm that's going to come in, rain for an hour, and then be clear again? And, if I see rain or potential for rain, I'm usually making sure I'm across wet weather alternatives. That's a very common thing to have here, is a wet weather alternative for the ceremony, because most ceremonies are outdoors. And that way I know already, again, it's just sort of, I guess, what we call it is increasing the percentage of success. So it's looking ahead. And I mentioned before how we have Brian who does this for all of our team. So they get an email on the Friday, the week before the week of wedding, if that makes sense. So 8 days out from a Saturday wedding, they get an email with weather forecasts for the area they're working in, whether it's in our city or one of the cities nearby. They get things like if there's a local event that's going to be happening that may impact on traffic, stuff like that, all in an email from Brian. So get it all relatively automated. But it's just, like I say, it's just setting each other up for success, because they might not get a chance, especially the kind of more part-time DJs. They might not think of those things, whereas we instill it in them from the start to be thinking of those things. If there's like this weekend is going to be a particularly hot weekend, so we might have notes in there about, stay hydrated, or if it's going to be wet, take towels, because towels are usually a little bit more helpful when it comes to dealing with wet weather. Or pack early, like packing equipment into vans or vehicles a bit early because it's going to be rainy. It just makes sense. It's like, I'd rather pack it the day before when I know I'm going to stay dry than day of where I could get wet or will get wet.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other thing we're doing on a kind of multi-op point of view is making sure that every DJ has the right equipment for the jobs that they need. So one might need uplighting, and then that uplight case might need to transfer to another DJ, the next day for the next event. Charged, lights are charged, because almost every light's battery powered now. So it's the kind of operational logistics from that larger company side of things is something that I'm like, I don't handle it. I get kind of almost told what to do by my operations guy, and I don't really worry too much if there's fresh batteries in my cordless mic case, because they'll be in there because the team look after all that, which is, again,
your job. Yeah,
it's setting each other up for success. And I guess when you translate that back to a single up point of view, it's just stuff you can checklist yourself. So you're setting yourself up for success. And it's interesting. A lot of the things you mentioned earlier, like you have an automated email that comes to you telling you to do something from Event Planner. I also have that, which is, I'm pretty sure, an idea I got from you. So thank you. And it's invaluable, because when you get to peak times of year and there's so much going on, it's like you don't want to get to the event and go, oh, I didn't get the information to do the introductions or something. You want to make sure week out you got it locked down.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, checklists are super important. Like, when I never thought I should have just pulled mine up here. I've got it up now when you said, uplighting and that type of thing. So things that are on my checklist for final wedding prep, which is what this checklist is called. And I literally, for those who are wondering, it's just a doc file. And within that doc file, I have a table set up with 3 columns. And there's the task in the first column, what. There's how much time will be on average needed for that in the second column. And then there's a checklist column on the right-hand side. And, I actually need to delete that checklist column now. And here's why, because I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but you can format a cell according to the fact that there's going to be a time in there. So 1H30M means 1.5 hours. So then when you have a formula at the bottom that adds it all up, it tells me total how much time I still have to allocate in my week. So rather than checking things off now, whenever I'm done a task, I simply delete the time from that time column. So that way it takes it out of my, total available needed to finish the prep for this wedding.
Yeah. So
by default, every wedding week of is set to 15 hours and 50 minutes. Now some of that, I have farmed out one big part of that. I don't do a voiceover edit for every wedding. For the weddings I do, the 4 hours I have allocated for that, I actually farm that out now. I'm not sure if anybody here is familiar with Megan Lovering. She does first dance, any audio edits that you want now. Incredible service. If anybody wants to know more, just reach out to myself about that. But yeah, what else is on my, send timeline, it's on mine.
So my question is, I guess, from a tangible takeaway for the people watching or listening to this, how accurate is it? Like you're saying, so with your 15 down to 11-ish hours, would you rarely go over? Do you kind of find yourself pretty much on point with that week to week?
So it's average. So when I say average, I mean, I have 15 minutes in there allocated to prepping kissing activity. Sometimes I have to do nothing for that. Prep buffet invitation activity, I have 30 minutes allocated for that. Sometimes it takes an hour. So I would say on average, it's relatively accurate, but every wedding is a little bit different. So typically speaking, when I duplicate this checklist file into the folder for that wedding, I'll open it up. I'll delete the items that do not apply to that wedding, such as the voiceover edit, or maybe there's no love story, whatever the case may be. I'll delete those items and then go, okay, I need 8 hours. I'll look at my calendar for the week and I will block 2 hours here, 4 hours here, 2 hours here, 1 hour here.
Cool.
So that's how I use that tool, I guess.
That's really nice. I like that.
Yeah, it works for me. I have an hour for prepping music for cocktails, an hour for prepping music for dinner. I don't always need that time. Maybe Justin and Jody, who are getting married this weekend, they're really into classic 90s country music. And they have it. Actually, no, they've been really specific. They have picked probably 3/4 of the music they want for cocktails. So, I'll have to go through, throw those into a playlist. Maybe I don't have half a dozen of them, jump on iTunes and buy them, whatever the case may be. So all that stuff just takes a little bit of time, right? Prep requests and music for dancing. I have an hour allocated for that. I think they've only requested like 3 or 4 songs for the dance itself. The rest is up to me. So that's going to take almost no time at all. And then I get the end of this checklist for week of gets really granular in that the last few things are print, grand entrance, and love story. 5 minutes allocated to that. Print ceremony agenda, print reception agenda, prep package and gift that I'm going to bring and leave on their card table. Print speeches. So anything that's been sent off to me, it's all in that checklist so that I don't forget to do anything. So my week of wedding prep would not survive without a checklist. Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I think it's essential, and to get as granular as that is going to be more beneficial to some people than others. Like I know myself, because I'm generally kind of pretty airy fairy, and I'm sitting in my van or I'm standing in my shed going, "All right, what did I forget?" Whereas with a checklist, it helps me because I can literally tick it off and go, "Yeah, I can see that. I can see my suit hanging in the van. I can see my shoes. I can see my gear, like my event backpack that I take that has all my bits and pieces in." So definitely I like that nitty gritty.
I mean, here I'll just share. Boom, boom. So for anybody wondering, you'll be able to glance. If anybody wants to screenshot their screen right now, they can. But that's essentially what I've just been describing. So the task, the time, and then, like I said, the check column, which I can really just delete now, actually, because I just delete the time and see how it adds it all up. 15 hours, 50 minutes. So if I go in here and delete the 2 hours, 30 minutes for love story, boom. Now I'm done at 13 hours and 20. Delete that. Boom, 9 hours and 20. Tells me how much time I need to allocate for that week. Super, super easy.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
So, and then of course there's the loading before I leave the house. All of my stuff is loaded in a trailer all the time, never gets unloaded. But these are all the other things that might not necessarily be in the trailer. So, load vest, load jacket, dress shoes, water bottle, etc., etc. So,
yep, I love
that's me.
The one I spotted on there, which I love the most, I think, is laptop power supply.
Right?
I know. Oh my God. You're probably not surprised if you've got it on your checklist for the amount of times that we have backup MacBook Pro power supplies ready to go, because that's the thing that a DJ will forget. And crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
I guess on the other side of stuff that we're always considering is we have, like, for me, it's clothing prep, making sure by kind of Thursday, Friday, I've got my shirt ironed and my suit ready, and that I've got, socks to wear and little things like that. Making sure that if we've got more production on the event, like lighting and special effects, that we actually have a production run sheet for the night, which is more in depth than what, say, the general run sheet is for the night. So they've got lighting cues or fireworks, not real fireworks, but the indoor spark machine cues, so that all those elements come together really well as well from that point of view. And I'm sure there's other people out there with a much more in-depth way of doing that. But for ours, it's just so our lighting dudes can know when to do what they need to do.
Right.
And another element that I usually do is I'll run through a kind of the maps thing on the Google Maps of just how long it's going to take me to get to my event. So obviously we allow extra time, but just sort of, especially if it's a venue I've not been to before, or we moved house 18 months ago. So for me, I had to kind of rejig all of my, how long does it take to get to that venue from the So, and I know you travel a lot for your events, just getting in my mind, like, okay, I need to leave at this time to be there by that time. So I'm set up by that time. So extending my run sheet a little bit further back, especially if I've got, picking up dry ice or picking up a staff member or something else on the way too. So,
yeah, I would say when it comes to heading out to events, I'm sure this is going to be really familiar for lots of people watching, but I typically speaking will, if I know it's going to take me an hour and 15 minutes to get there, I'm probably going to give myself an hour and 45, maybe even a little bit longer. And then I'm also going to I'm going to allocate for myself, I should say, more time than I typically need to set up, so that I've got I like an hour and a half to 2 hours before the cocktails start. If I'm just dealing with reception, I like that, because if it's cocktails at 5 o'clock, okay, so that means I want to be changed into the monkey suit, into the suit by 4:15 type of thing. That means I want to be changing by 4 o'clock, which means I want to be set up by 3 o'clock so that I have an hour of nothing. And of course, maybe something will go wrong and I'll have to troubleshoot something. Well, now my hour of nothing is gone, but at least it hasn't impacted the night itself.
Oh, for sure. You can kind of cool down a bit, have a snack, check your playlists. There's always something to do in that nothing time, if that makes sense. And sometimes the something to do is literally just calming yourself, taking the deep breaths and so that you're not ever looking rushed. So it's like we call it doing the duck, On the top, it's all cool, calm, collected. But underneath, it's 100 mile an hour, making sure everything's going to be right. So.
Doing the duck. That's great.
Yeah. That's a Brian from my team term. So. But I love it. It's so true, especially in that MC role. You've got to, everything's cool, calm, and collected, but underneath, you're packing it.
Yeah, so true. So true. So true. Is there anything else that you and the team, I mean, I guess, you've got operations people to look after that, but when it comes to the week of prep, I mean, do any of your other team members do grand entrances or anything that requires scripting? And if so, do they do that? Does somebody else do that? Do they have a deadline by which they have to do it so someone else can review it? How does that work in your company?
Yeah. So each MC is responsible for their own scripting. And the reason for that is to keep it in their voice if they're the ones that are going to say.
Right.
So through the magic of DJ Event Planner, we're able to have all that saved as documents on the client there. So I forget the proper term for related documents, I think it's called, on the event. So we had a situation actually just very recently when Ben from our team was going to MC an event, and I think it was less than 2 days beforehand, he got really ill, and I had to go and MC that on his behalf. And so we were able to contact the client, explain what had happened. It was all good, all covered. He'd done all the work, so everything was there that I needed. I literally just had to go over it. I didn't even need to contact the client to ask questions. Everything was there. So from a multi-op point of view, it's just utilizing those tools, in our case, Event Planner, to make sure it's all prepped. And that's I guess, the advantage of, we don't have a written rule of you have to have your script or timeline or whatever done a week out. Mm-hmm. It's generally, you've got to have your notes in Event Planner so that whatever the time frame, if something goes wrong, that other MC or that other DJ can step in and they can deliver it to the same standard or as best possible in the circumstance. And I was able to do that event, and I was really stoked when I read the evaluation came back, and the client was like, we had a last minute change of MC, and you wouldn't have even known anything was different. It was so good. And I was like, oh, good. Like I wasn't shooting for, Glenn was way better than we thought Ben was going to be. I wanted it to be, no one would have known it was different. So, I was very fortunate. They all had very easy names to pronounce, and they were a super crazy couple. But yeah. The other thing I just want to touch on for like personal prep is keeping myself hydrated in those days leading up to an event. I'm really bad at drinking water, but I know when I've got an event, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just hydrating well in advance. And again, it's setting up for success. It's like, what are the actions I need to take to better increase the chances of something going right? And we're very similar to you in that from start of ceremony to end of reception is a long day. That can be between 9 and 12 hours, right? And even longer for you, I'm sure. and so if you're not sort of, I guess, physically prepped for that, then you're going to struggle as you get to the end. And like you said, doing 2 events in 2 days, the second event aren't getting 100%, right, no matter what you do.
Yep.
But if you're doing one event and it goes for 12 hours and you're not, hydrated and, carb loaded or whatever you want to do, they're not going to get 100% of you. So
that's true.
There's that sort of physical aspect that we do. Obviously, doing nothing stupid. I'm not out. This is one I got from Jim Cerrone. You're not out cleaning my gutters on Saturday morning before an event, because what if I fall? And again, I'm not mowing my grass. I'm not physically doing too much on that morning of the event.
Wait. You're not trying to subtly dig at people who go mountain biking, are you?
Well, well, there's that. And it's actually probably a pretty good example, right?
Yeah, it is.
In the scheme of things, it's from a percentage point of view, and like we play the numbers a lot here. It's like, how many times have you crashed your bike, right? Once bad enough that it's become a thing, out of how many rides you've taken. So, and it's up to each person to kind of know where their risk tolerance is.
That's right. It's funny actually, because about 4 weeks ago, I had a wedding 3 hours north of where I live, and I knew that they have some really wild mountain bike trails up there. They've got this area called Thunder Hill, and I'd heard about the trails up there, so I brought my bikes up there with me. And she was like, "You're not going like riding the day of my wedding, are you?" I'm like, no, I'm not. Well, I said I might go up for a little ride just around your town, but I'm not going to do any crazy trails. No, nothing. And so I did go for a little ride the morning of, after I woke up in the hotel room, that type of thing, because I'd gone up the day before. But yeah, she was like, "You're not going to go and like do something crazy on the day." No, I'm saving that for the morning after. So at the wedding, everybody's like, that was the first weekend that we'd gotten snow actually, and everybody's like, seriously, are you going to ride Thunder Hill tomorrow morning? Like, you're going to get up early Sunday morning and go do it? I'm like, yes, I am. I got 2 other people that are going to show me the ropes, and we're going to go. But yeah, don't do that on the day of a wedding.
And I guess another thing, and this is an idea I got. I think it was Joe Bunn I first heard this from, is talking about your couple to people around you during the week leading up to the event. So, for example, Robert and Sonia, who I mentioned earlier, when I'm talking to my kids, what do you got this weekend? And they'll tell me what they're up to. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing Robert and Sonia's wedding. Robert and Sonia this, Robert and Sonia that. So that it's always front of mind, so that I don't forget that couple's name. And
Smart.
ever since I heard that as a concept, I was like, damn, I'm going to give that a try. And because I have a horrible memory for names, and when we do lots of events, they can blend in together. So this has been very successful for me. So thank you, Joe.
Okay,
I'm sure it was Joe, but whoever it was, great idea.
If it wasn't you, Joe, you took the credit. Yeah, I certainly pride myself on knowing my couple's names, and that's something super important. So, I suppose I probably do that the week of, but maybe unconsciously. Like I certainly don't do it consciously, but I like how you do that with intention. It's a really neat little takeaway, actually.
Yeah.
It's Day and Night DJs, by the way, just commented, I used to race sprint cars on Friday nights before Saturday weddings. There was a different risk tolerance, you see. Different strokes for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. If that person's done it for 10 years and it's never been an incident, then
exactly,
power to them.
Yep, 100%. I also like that you mentioned staying hydrated, especially the 2-3 days before a wedding. I have caught myself not doing that, and I'll be honest, I don't do that with enough intention every week. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because that's something I do need to focus on a little bit more. So thank you for that reminder.
Oh, that's okay. And that's the thing. It's interesting. It wasn't until I was kind of putting some thoughts down about this earlier, and I was like, wow, I don't have drink water on a post-it note on my computer here or anything. And I was like, well, maybe I should. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, what could I be doing better? That something like this, and this is often what I get when I watch these disc jockey news videos, is it's a good reminder on stuff that I maybe knew but had let slide a little bit.
Yeah.
And I always pick up something. And same as, presentations at conferences, you always pick up something from a presenter, regardless of if it seems very one-on-one. It could be like, oh yeah, I haven't been doing that lately. Maybe I should pick that up again.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions for us, for Glenn specifically, because Glenn's not here every other Wednesday like Jeremy and I normally are, shoot them in the chat. YouTube is where we monitor most of the chat. I'll quickly jump over to Facebook too to see if there's anything happening there. No, just John commenting. I'll appreciate you stepping in this evening, Glenn. What? David Wolf. Okay, I heard the same tip about using couple's name. It was a great tip. I think it was Joe, he says. And then he also writes, add, quote, depends undergarments to the checklist with all this hydration going on. Do you know what depends are, Glenn?
I do.
Okay.
I do. But yeah, I maybe don't drink that much water. I'm not that old. I don't know.
Well, okay. So in an ideal world, how much water would you be looking to drink the day before a wedding?
Well, to me, it's just about being hydrated. So this is my big drinking glass. Literally sits here beside my desk. Like, it's empty right now, so that's not a good sign. But I also don't have a wedding this coming weekend. So although I think I'm going out to the party, so maybe I should hydrate for that. But to me, it's like I want to be making sure I'm probably getting through 5 to 6 of those on Thursday and Friday, and a couple on Saturday morning. Yeah. And it's just like you can feel it within yourself when you're hydrated and when you're not hydrated. And that I used to have a trainer when I played soccer, and he's like, if you're not peeing clear, then you're not hydrated. And I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's one way to tell. And then you find you recover better the next day as well. When you're hydrated, you're not waking up the next day feeling hungover, even though you haven't been drinking. You just did a big day.
Got it. Yeah, I was not hydrated this past weekend. I was speaking at Brian Pudwerney, who's a mutual friend of yours and I. He and some partners of his put on a wedding conference in Brandon this past weekend, Brandon, Manitoba, called the Central Canadian Wedding Conference. For any of my Canadians who are listening tonight, it was a great conference, and they say there's going to be a 2020 edition, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, he had me speaking in the afternoon, and I was certainly not hydrated. I forgot to drink water during my presentation too. And oh my God, by the end of it, I was just like, give me some water. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it was a dry facility as well. And it's dry here. The moment winter hits, it gets very dry here, but yeah, super important.
Yeah. And I think that's probably where it came from for me, is from the speaking field. When I was speaking, making sure I was hydrated for that. And deep breathing, before an event. Like, I know that's not something you're doing on a Wednesday, but doing your breathing exercises and stuff.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier that as you get closer to the event, that's when things that your checklist becomes more intense, and that's when most of the things are. Remembering to take that time in between when you're set up and before you suit up to breathe and get that oxygen into you. And yeah, so you just want to me, it's that I want to be my best self, ready to go when those people walk in the door. I don't want to be there going, oh, I'm so tired, and oh, my back's stiff, I'm sticky and sweaty. I want to be pumped, ready to work, and ready to have fun with them. And like you were mentioning, present my best self.
Yeah, that's right. David says, frustrating when some receptions have no water or non-alcoholic options available. Always need to remember to bring my own water to events. David, I've never run into that before where they don't have water. Water's a pretty common thing. I guess the occasional tent wedding maybe. But yeah. I normally get water from the vet. I just often ask the staff, hey, can I get a jug of water beside my booth? No ice. And I'm probably going to go through like 2 of them tonight. A lot of water when I'm working.
Or take a water bottle. Take a water bottle as well. We as a company policy, you can have a water bottle on your console, but you can't have a glass or a jug of water.
You can't have a glass, but you can have a water bottle.
Absolutely. So the water bottle has a lid that's screwed on. A glass doesn't. So I'm sure you can see where this is going. And the fact that this rule exists mean that it exists because something happened. So yeah. And that's just, again, when it's you yourself at the event, Dave, is very different to stuff.
Yeah, very true, very true. Oh wow, David, it was at an outdoor wedding. He asked for water, and they said he could dip his glass in the stock tank from the melted ice that was cooling down the beer. Wow, David, I see what you mean, man. Holy, bring a big jug of water, leave it in the vehicle in case you need it. Wow.
They didn't have water, but they had plenty of beer. That's setting themselves up for a successful party, that's for sure.
Right. Oh, we just had somebody comment as well that they have the same policy for water bottles, and it's just them and a partner. So
yeah,
look at that. Yeah. Very good. Well, Glenn, this has been a lot of fun. I hope people took some, just little nuggets away. If not a nugget, but a reminder. Oh yeah, as you said earlier, I've heard that before. I really should do that.
Yeah.
So, thanks for being here tonight, man. Thanks for being a fill-in. I appreciate it a lot. Anything else you want to add? Parting words?
Off the bench, onto the playing field. Love it.
Excellent. I think we'll be back in a couple of weeks again, everybody, with Jeremy, maybe. And if not Jeremy, Glenn will step in. And you know what? If y'all like Glenn better than Jeremy, say so in the comments, because I'm sure John is pretty flexible with how he schedules these things. And if y'all thought Glenn was better, but you'd like Jeremy back and you want me off the show, I'm cool with that too. So whatever. Anyway,
we're interchangeable.
We're very interchangeable, these triplets. Anyway, again, I am Dave Ternier.
And I'm Glenn Mackay.
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.